He was 9 at the time of her murder. She was murdered at age 6. So let me tell you that story. The family went out to a Christmas party at a friend's house on Christmas. They came back that night, and John Benet went to sleep, although somebody mentioned that perhaps she might have gotten up in the middle of the night and had some kind of argument with her brother over pineapple chunks or something that were in the kitchen. Pineapple was found in her stomach when she died, so that contributes to, I guess, that little piece of the story. The next morning, around 5:30, the mother woke up for some coffee, and she found a 3-page ransom note. Someone was claiming that they had taken little John Benet and that they would give her back if they would provide the kidnapper with $118, which is a weird number, right? But it just so happens to be the exact amount that the father had received as a Christmas bonus. And they say that very few people would have known that. So, I'm not sure what else was in that 3 pages, but it was definitely much longer than it needed to be, because a typical ransom note would only need, maybe a couple of paragraphs at most. So she immediately contacted 911, and she said to them something weird like, "I have a kidnapping here." Something that just seemed a little off, rather than saying, "My daughter is missing," or "My daughter's been kidnapped," but more like, "We have a kidnapping here." And the police came over. They looked around. They didn't find anything. Then, oddly enough, they told the father and his friend to look around. When does that happen? When do the police tell the people who own the house to look around? Isn't everybody a suspect? So, when the father goes down to the basement, he finds John Benet, and he doesn't scream out. Now imagine yourself, or I'm imagining myself, although I don't even want to go there, but you go down in the basement and you see your own child dead on the ground. Wouldn't you scream? Wouldn't that be the first thing that you would do? You wouldn't plan it, but it would just happen. I mean, I would scream if I saw, a big spider let's go ahead and look at some of the more specific details of the case. Alright, so I have an article from biography.com, and it is called John Benet Ramsey's Murder, Timeline of the Child Pageant Star's Death and Investigation. Found in the basement of her Colorado home the day after Christmas 1996, the truth behind the 6-year-old girl's killing remains a mystery to this day. Okay, so it very simply goes through a timeline, starting with December 23rd. A 911 call is made from the Ramsey home, which is actually 3 days before the body is found. They say it was a mistake, maybe made by a drunk party guest. That's weird. Could be completely unrelated. In fact, I don't see how it would be related. December 25th. It's all year 1996, okay? The Ramseys attend a Christmas party at a family friend's house. John Benet gets a bike for Christmas. After attending a Christmas party hosted by family friend Fleet White, the Ramseys go home and John Benet goes to bed. Some theories say she snuck back downstairs and fought with her brother over a late-night snack of pineapple. Indeed, the undigested tropical fruit was found in her stomach. December 26th, 5:30 a.m. Patsy gets up to make coffee. She discovers a 2.5-page handwritten ransom note on the back stairs leading to the kitchen that says her daughter has been kidnapped, and it said, quote, "You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills." Oddly, that was the exact amount of John's Christmas bonus. The note also said not to call the police, but she called. So before 6 a.m., so he was fast, the police officer, Rick French, arrived at the home and did a search. Early that same afternoon, the first detective on the scene, Linda Arndt, pulls aside John and his friend White, who had come over to console his friend. She tells them to do a top-to-bottom search of the home. That was when John opened the door to the basement spare room and saw John Benet's body. It looked like she had been strangled and her mouth and neck were covered with duct tape. He picked up the body and ran, screaming upstairs. Okay, so he was screaming when he ran, so I didn't get that part when I was telling you the story. Arndt, the detective, later moved the body closer to the Christmas tree upstairs. By bringing her upstairs and leaving the basement door, much of the evidence became tainted. 10:45 p.m., the coroner's team removed her body from the home. Now, another thing that I don't think it says in here is that there was a window to the basement, and there was fresh snow on the ground, and there were no footprints in the snow, and there was a cobweb over the window as well. So it looks like nobody could much sense.